The date is December 27th, 1941. The location is the frozen coast of Norway. It is Operation Archery. A British landing craft crashes through the icy waves approaching the German garrison on the island of Vågsøy. Inside the boat are tough commandos armed with the latest submachine guns, grenades, and mortars. They are tense. They are checking their bolts. They are praying. But at the front of the boat, standing right at the ramp, is a figure that does not belong in the 20th century. He is not crouching, he is standing tall. He is not holding a rifle. In his left hand, he grips a set of bagpipes. In his right hand, he holds a basket-hilted Scottish broadsword, a meter of sharpened steel forged for a different age. As the ramp drops and the German machine guns open fire, turning the water into a slaughterhouse, this man does not take cover. He raises the pipes to his lips. He plays the March of the Cameron Men. And then he charges. He runs straight into the machine gun fire, screaming and swinging a sword. The Germans in the bunker stop firing for a split second. They are confused. They are terrified. They have seen tanks. They have seen bombers. But they have never seen a demon charging at them with a medieval weapon. This is Lieutenant Colonel John Malcolm Thorpe Fleming Churchill. His men call him Mad Jack. He is the only soldier in the entire Second World War to kill an enemy with a longbow, and the only one to capture a town with a sword. He famously said, "Any officer who goes into action without his sword is improperly dressed." This is not a myth. This is not a movie character. This is the story of a man who looked at the industrialized slaughter of World War II, the tanks, the airplanes, the atom bombs, and decided that he would fight his own way. He treated the war like a sport. He treated death like an old friend. And he proved that even in an age of machines, the sheer force of human insanity can still win battles. Today, we declassify the legend of Mad Jack Churchill, the warrior who brought a knife to a gunfight and won. To understand the madness, we have to go back to the beginning. Jack Churchill was born in 1906. He graduated from the Royal Military Academy Sandhurst in 1926, but peacetime army life bored him. He drove his motorcycle across the entire country of India. He learned to play the bagpipes, which was unusual for an Englishman. He became a male model. He appeared in movies as an extra playing an archer because he had mastered the longbow. He represented Britain in the World Archery Championships in 1939. When Germany invaded Poland in 1939, Jack didn't despair. He smiled. He reportedly said, "I am back in my redcoat. The country's in a jam." He rejoined the army immediately. He was sent to France with the British Expeditionary Force. But this was not a glorious war. The Germans were using blitzkrieg, fast tanks, Stuka dive bombers. The British were retreating. They were being pushed back to the sea toward a place called Dunkirk. Most British officers were demoralized. They were digging in, trying to survive. Jack Churchill was different. He carried his longbow into battle, a massive yew wood bow with a draw weight of 100 pounds. He carried barbed hunting arrows. His fellow officers thought he was insane. Why bring a stick and string against a panzer? Jack told them that a rifle gives away your position with a flash and a bang. An arrow is silent. An arrow is psychological. May 27th, 1940. Near the village of Lepinette, Jack and his men are ambushing a German patrol. Jack is in a tower. He sees the German sergeant leading the patrol. A normal officer would use a pistol. Jack draws his bow. He calculates the wind. He calculates the drop. The German sergeant has no idea he is being hunted by a weapon from the Middle Ages. Jack releases the string. The arrow flies silently. It strikes the German sergeant directly in the chest. He drops instantly. The other Germans panic. They hear nothing. They see no muzzle flash. They start firing wildly into the trees. Jack's men open fire with machine guns and wipe out the patrol. That arrow shot remains the only confirmed kill by a longbow in the entire Second World War. It was a statement. It was Jack telling the Wehrmacht that the rules of war did not apply to him. During the retreat to Dunkirk, Jack was wounded. Did he go to the hospital? No. He walked to the coast playing his bagpipes to keep the men's morale up. He refused to look like a defeated man. When he arrived in England, he volunteered for a new, dangerous unit that was being formed. They were called the Commandos. They were looking for men who were tough, independent, and a little crazy. Jack Churchill was their perfect candidate. Jack trained his men hard. He led them through the Scottish Highlands in the rain. He taught them to fight at night. He taught them to kill silently. But his most famous exploit came in Italy in 1943 during the landings at Salerno, Operation Avalanche. The fighting was brutal. The Germans had the high ground. The British commandos were tasked with taking a village called Pigoletti. The problem was the mortars. The Germans were raining mortar shells down on the advance. A frontal attack would be suicide. Jack decided to infiltrate. He ordered his men to form 6 parallel columns in advance in the dark. He told them, if you see something in the dark, shoot it. If it says comrade, capture it. But Jack himself did not shoot. He drew his claymore sword. He took a corporal named Ruffle with him, just one man. They crept into the village. It was pitch black. Jack saw the glow of a cigarette, a German sentry post. A normal soldier would throw a grenade. Jack charged out of the darkness, screaming like a demon, brandishing his sword. The German sentry saw a giant man swinging a blade at his neck. His brain could not process it. He froze. Jack placed the tip of the sword against the man's throat. "Hande hoch!" Jack shouted. The German dropped his rifle. Jack didn't kill him. He used him. He grabbed the prisoner and marched him to the next sentry post. He poked the prisoner with his sword and made him tell the next guard to surrender. The second guard, seeing his comrade captured and a madman with a sword, surrendered too.
Jack repeated this process all night. It was like a game of dominoes. He moved from post to post, using the prisoners as human shields and the terror of his sword as a weapon. He walked into the German sleeping quarters. He woke up the officers with the flat of his blade. By the time the sun rose, Jack Churchill and Corporal Ruffle marched back to the British lines. They were not alone. They were marching 42 German prisoners, a mortar squad, a machine gun crew, and infantry. 42 men captured by one man with the sword and one man with a rifle. When asked how he did it, Jack simply said, "I maintain that as long as you tell a German loudly and clearly what to do, if you are senior to him, he will cry, 'Jawohl,' and get on with it." It was a victory of psychology. He had broken their will before he even touched them. But war is not always a game, and luck eventually runs out. In 1944, Jack was sent to Yugoslavia to help the partisans fighting against the Nazis. He was tasked with taking a hill called Point 622 on the island of Brock. It was a suicide mission. The Germans were dug in with barbed wire and mines. Jack led the charge playing his bagpipes. He played "Will Ye No Come Back Again." The attack failed. The mortar fire was intense. One by one, Jack's commandos were killed or wounded. Within an hour, only 6 men were left alive. Then 3. Then only Jack was left. He was alone on the hilltop. The German soldiers were advancing up the slope to finish him off. He had ran out of ammunition for his revolver. His sword was damaged. So what did he do? He did not run. He did not beg. He stood up in the middle of the mortar barrage, put his bagpipes to his lips, and played the saddest song he knew. He played until a German grenade exploded right next to him. The blast knocked him unconscious. The Germans found him lying in the dirt, bleeding but still holding his pipes. They thought he was dead. But Mad Jack was too stubborn to die. He was captured. The Germans realized he was a high-value prisoner. His name was Churchill, so they mistakenly thought he was a relative of Winston Churchill, the Prime Minister. They sent him to Berlin for interrogation. Then they sent him to Sachsenhausen concentration camp. This was a place of death, a place where hope went to die. But Jack didn't see a prison. He saw a challenge. In September 1944, Jack and an RAF officer named Bertram James crawled under the wire through an abandoned drain. They escaped. They walked for miles toward the Baltic coast, hoping to find a ship. But it was winter. They were cold, starving, and wearing ragged clothes. They were captured just a few miles from freedom.
The Germans were furious. They moved him to a high-security camp in Austria, guarded by SS troops. In April 1945, the war was ending. The SS guards were getting nervous. They feared being captured by the Russians. They decided to execute the prisoners. Jack knew this. He waited for a moment when the lighting system failed. He ran. He ran into the Alps. He had no food. He had no map. He had a sprained ankle. He walked 150 miles through the mountains, surviving on vegetables he stole from gardens. He walked until he saw armored vehicles. They were American tanks. He waved them down. The Americans were shocked to see a British officer looking like a wild man walking out of the mountains. He had walked across half of Europe to get back to the war. But he was too late. By the time he was debriefed, the news came. Germany had surrendered. The war in Europe was over. Most soldiers celebrated. They cried with relief. They wanted to go home. Jack Churchill was furious. He reportedly threw his equipment across the room and said, "If it wasn't for those damn Yanks, we could have kept the war going another 10 years." He wasn't done. He volunteered for the Pacific Theater to fight the Japanese. He wanted to use his sword in the jungles. But before he could arrive, the atomic bombs fell on Hiroshima and Nagasaki. The war ended completely. Jack was denied his final battle. But his life didn't stop being an adventure. After the war, he became a parachutist. He appeared in movies again. And in a final act of eccentricity, he used to take the train home from London to his house. Every day, as the train passed his backyard, he would open the window and throw his briefcase out into his garden. Why? Because he said it saved him from carrying it home from the station. He eventually retired to Australia, where he became a passionate surfer. Yes, the man who charged Nazis with a sword ended his days riding waves. He died in 1996, peacefully, in his bed. Jack Churchill was a relic, a man born in the wrong century. In a war defined by technology, by radar and rockets and atoms, he proved that the human spirit is the most dangerous weapon of all. He showed that if you have enough courage and enough madness, you can break the rules of reality. He didn't fight for ideology. He didn't fight for hate. He fought because he loved it. They called him Mad Jack, and perhaps he was. But in a world that had gone insane with slaughter, perhaps he was the only one who truly understood what it meant to be a warrior.